Hello guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another Homebrew Weekly. Yeah, I'm sitting in the same spot I was last time I did this, and it looks like I have a couple of beers to try here. This is not a comparison, though. This is just me sitting here trying a couple beers that I've brewed for you guys, because I don't have a lot to talk about. This is just a Cooper's stout that I brewed, which is, so that's just the basic one that I did not that long ago, and it's been sitting here for a few minutes, so it's lost some of its head. This one here is a long-awaited Halfmoon Pumpkin Ale. This is one I brewed a few weeks ago. It was sent in by Tyrone, and I think the company is called the Brew Pub, who made this, and so I'm going to give it a whirl for you guys. So I'll try this one first, and then we'll get on to the Cooper's stout, which I'll tell you how I brewed this, and I'll give you my opinion on it. Now, this isn't really the best ideal situation for trying beers because they're totally different beers. Pardon the dryer in the background. Gotta do laundry. And so two totally different beers, but I'm just gonna have some fun today and drink a couple beers for you guys and tell you what I think, okay? So, welcome back. Thanks for your patience. And this beer was brewed a few weeks ago. You saw the video. If you didn't see it, I'll put a link down below in the description to when this was, just so you can see how this was brewed if you didn't already watch. And I think without further ado, let's give it a whirl. Pumpkin. Now, I had a graphic up here that I was gonna put up. I forgot. There you go. Just to give it a little bit of, because we're April now, 2018, and this is nowhere near a pumpkin season, but what the hell? There it is, a pumpkin on the screen. So you can always buy a pumpkin pie this time of year. So let's see if this tastes anything like a pumpkin style beer. Can't wait. Let's see what happens. Cheers. Oh yeah. Definitely smell that pumpkin pie spice that we put in. And the pumpkin puree absolutely smells like a pumpkin beer. Okay? So you can't, there's not a lot of hops really going on. I'm not a beer reviewer, so I'm not going to claim to be able to use all those fancy terms. But let's give this a whirl. Cheers, guys. 17. That's delicious. How clear is that? Do we have a flashlight around here anywhere? Ah, here we go. My new tactical. This will burn out the camera if I use the high setting, but okay. Let's see. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see that. How about we do it that way? Yeah. So it's pretty clear. It's sort of hazy. And I don't know how well you can see it, but I can see the light through it. It's not cloudy, but it's kind of, a little bit hazed, which is good. I like hazy beer. Filtered beer, no, not for me. I would rather a beer with what I used to call balls. Cloudy beer has balls. It's got flavor. It has, something in it that's not been filtered out to get rid of the flavor and some mouthfeel as well that comes along with having some particulates in the beer. Look at that lacing there, nice on the inside of the glass there. It's got kind of a spiciness to it, sort of like a, like what when you eat like a pumpkin pie. It's got sort of a spice to it. It's got that. It tastes like a pumpkin pie. I would highly recommend this beer. I don't have a lot to say about it because I'm not a beer reviewer. What the heck? It's got a great mouthfeel. This came out of a keg. It's nicely carbonated, which is, that's something that you can control when you're kegging beer. It's definitely got a sweetness to it, and definitely the pumpkin flavor comes out. So it's a nice seasonal beer. If you do want to brew this in the fall sometime and serve it to your friends, I would highly recommend it. It's the Brew Pub. Halfmoon Pumpkin Ale. And thank you, Tyrone, for sending me this beer, or this beer kit, which I am enjoying, and I'm glad I have a keg full of this stuff to try. And certainly can't really tell that it's an extract beer. That's, an interesting topic as of late, because I've noticed that ever since I've started using better yeast, the extract beers that I've been doing have been much better quality as far as taste. I've been, some of you may know, I've been using the Cooper's brand beer kits for many years because I brew for economics. I don't necessarily brew for the hobby aspect of it, although it is a bit of a hobby. I brew more because of the price of beer here where I live. I brew more for just because I don't want to pay those prices, and if I can whip up a batch in an hour or two, or even half an hour, then for a third of the price, well, of course I'm going to do that. So, and it's actually, as I've said before, better beer than just the run-of-the-mill stuff that you buy at the store. Apart from the craft beers, which of course that's a whole different topic. But those people who walk into a beer store and they walk out with a 24 pack of Labatt's Blue or Coors or something like that up on their shoulder, and they paid like $45 for that. I see that and I think, I wish I could just shout at them. Like, do you realize you just paid through the nose for beer when you can make your own beer at home easily? Obviously I can't do that, people are just going to get annoyed. So I just laugh and just hope that one day they come to their senses. But this is an awesome beer. The other beer kit I got from Tyrone, from the same company, the Brew Hut, is an apricot ale, I believe. And I'm going to brew that, and I've got an actual store-bought one in the fridge that's been there for a while. And when I brew that beer and get that ready, I'm going to compare the two, see which one, or what the comparison is as far as taste. All I can tell you is that if it's categorized as a pumpkin style ale, it definitely lives up to the name. Very clean, and I can't tell that it's an extract beer. Why should you be able to tell that it's an extract beer? I think there's a stigma out there, and I've recently gotten into, well, not recently, but within the last few years, gotten into a hobby with vinyl records. I just bought a new turntable not that long ago, which I demonstrated on my vinyl.tv channel. It's not vinyl.tv, sorry, my vinyl TV channel. I'll put the link for that down below. An absolutely gorgeous turntable. And I do have a small record collection, which basically replaces, the one that I used to have when I was younger, which got flooded out from basement flood. And the reason I brought this up is getting into this hobby of audio, which I was into years ago and got out of it, and I'm getting back into it again. There's a lot of, what do you call it? Hype, Oh, you can't do this because of this. And someone reads that and goes, oh, okay, I can't do that because of this. Okay, and then they pass that along to somebody else. So all of a sudden there's this, this stigma out there that you can't do something because it's wrong and it won't be good and it won't taste good or it won't sound good or whatever. And, you look at, something like a turntable where, they're talking about things like, you're supposed to listen to records without the lid on. You're supposed to take this lid off the hinges in order to get better sound. Okay, this is the same type of thing sometimes, and I learned this, that we're talking about when it comes to beer. You can't brew with extract because it tastes different, or it doesn't work, it's not good. Well, that's a little more believable, I guess, than saying you can't listen to records with the lid on. You have to take this lid off the whole thing and put it somewhere, or otherwise the record's going to sound bad. But you get what I mean. It's the same thing with all hobbies. People benefit from fooling people into thinking that, and I'll get negative comments about this, and I know it, but that's okay. You know, I'm just telling you from my heart that I've been brewing beer for almost 30 years. I've done all the things. I've done extracts, mini mash, pre-hopped, partial extracts, all grain. I've done all those things. Less all grain than all the rest, of course, and I will admit that. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can make award-winning beer from extracts. And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to downsize the all grain people, because believe me, to take the grains and grind them up and mash them and make your own wort and do all that, it's exciting. It's fantastic. And if you haven't done it yet, you should. You know, get yourself a cooler and do all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, if your life gets busy and you can't brew all grain beer, don't give up brewing. You know, just move to extract for that period of time until your life gets to the point where you can do all grain again. No one's gonna die. It tastes good, and it's good beer. Really, it is. You can believe me, or you can think I'm full of crap. I'm just telling you what I believe, and I have been brewing for a long time. So really, that's the only thing I have to my credit, is that I've been making beer for 30 years. In one shape or form. So, anyway, there's my rant for today. Okay, let's give this one more. I am double-fisted, by the way, so just everybody knows that. That is a very nice beer. Very nice pumpkin ale. And again, watch the video. It doesn't have a lot of hops in it. It's got a slight bitterness, but most of it is the sort of the enhancement or the sweetness from the pumpkin flavor. And if you like that kind of thing, then give a pumpkin beer a try. I have a can of pumpkin puree in one of my pantries over here, and it's just sitting there. And I don't think I'm ever gonna use it. I don't know where I got it. Somebody bought it, and I think I'm just gonna throw it in to a beer one time. I'll buy a sort of a blonde ale sort of beer kit. Excuse me, and I'll just go like bloom, just kapoom, just dump it in there and see what it adds to the beer. Why not? Give it a little bit of a boil so it, that's in a can, so I'm sure it's fine. Okay, let's abandon the pumpkin idea for a few minutes, and I'm sure the camera's going to adjust to that disappearing now. And let's try this Cooper's Stout. Now, this is a can of Cooper's, and I'm not paid, I'm not advocating, I'm not getting sponsored by Cooper's. Really nothing. If there's something bad about them, I will tell you. I hate their yeast. I don't like their yeast. I think a lot of the things that that people don't like about brewing these Coopers is that the yeast is too fruity. It's got too much of an appley flavor to it. So whenever I brew a Cooper's, I use a different yeast. I use a USO5 yeast, which I've cultured, and from another batch, which I'm doing again. So you take your yeast out of the bottom of the fermenter, you pour it in a jar, put it in the fridge, and you use that in your next batch. And that's what I've been doing here. If you do that, you get such a much better flavor out of the beer. It's unbelievable. It's night and day, really. So this is a Cooper Stout. I did the can. I did a 5 and 7, which, in case you don't know what that is, it's 500 grams of dry malt extract and 700 grams of dextrose. You can reduce the dextrose if you want, but I don't mind the extra alcohol. What the hell? It's just something I like. So when I first poured it, it had a nice head on it, but of course, probably the extra dextrose has reduced the body of the beer, so those things have disappeared. But then again, when you pour yourself a Newcastle Brown, let's say, it's the same sort of look. This is that's a you know, professionally brewed beer, Newcastle Brown. If you've ever tried one, or if you haven't, you know, give it a whirl. But it's, you know, it's a little bit underwhelming as far as the flavor and you know, appearance goes, I guess, if you will. So, very simple beer. It took me 30 minutes to brew. This is from a keg, and let's give this a whirl. I have high hopes. Let's give it a whirl. Cheers. Smells like cold coffee, actually. Okay, cheers. Okay, they definitely used chocolate malt in the extract for this beer. Obviously, I mean, you can see the color. This one we're not gonna get anything. Well, you might see that, right? So it's supposed to be a stout, but I would consider it just, you know, I would consider it more of a porter, I guess. Those two beer styles kind of, you know, overlap, so, you know, you can argue all you want about that, but it's certainly, and the amount of carbonation that I put in this beer is a little bit less than usual, which is probably why there's a lack of, you know, foam on it. I decided I didn't want a lot of carbonation because that takes away from the flavor of the beer, and I wanted to taste the hops and there's not a lot of hops in it, but I want to taste the hops and the chocolate aspect of it. It's got a very coffee flavor to it. You know, that's a nice beer. I used the US-05 with that. And I harvested the US-05 into a jar, and I'm going to use that in a lighter colored beer. There's another rule I have broken, which hasn't caused me any ill will. Take the yeast from a dark beer and use it in a lighter beer. It doesn't seem to have, you know, I'm not brewing for the Queen of England. I'm not brewing for competition. I'm brewing for me, right? So, you know, I've brewed these dark beers. I've taken the yeast from the bottom of the fermenter, put it in a jar, let it settle for a few days in the refrigerator, pour off the top, you know, the bit of beer that's in there, and what's left is a yeast that can be used in any beer. So will there be carryover flavors? I don't know, maybe. Do I care? No. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you've kind of realized that I'm not a fussy guy. You know, I mean, I'm not, if I brew a blonde beer or a Pilsner and I use a yeast that came from something else and it carries over a flavor from that, just, you know, a little bit, I'm not gonna have a panic attack. Fine, there, I've created a beer that no one else has ever tried before. For me, it's always an experiment. So I'm when I zone in on, I'm not going to zone in, okay, I'm going to brew this type of beer and nothing else can be, you know, if it's not this type of beer, I'm going to panic, I'm going to pour it down the drain. I'm not like that at all. And it's the same with this. I mean, I'm just having fun. You know, the stuff doesn't taste like Pine Sol. It tastes good. It's good beer. This is better than a Newcastle Brown, hands down. Hands down. Do yourself a favor. Brew a Cooper's or whatever, any kind of Muntins, any brand of a stout. Home brew it. Use good yeast. Use good sanitation. Put some extra things in there, some extra malt and whatnot. Brew that up, and then get yourself a regular Guinness or something, and see, do the taste test. You'll see what I mean. This holds up. It holds up to the store-bought stuff. Now, if you're talking, for instance, one of my favorite beers, St. Peter's Winter Ale, well then, I plead the fifth. I'm not saying anything. I've never brewed a beer that tastes like that. Or if I have, it's been, you know, very, I don't remember it doing it. And of course the Torpedo that I tried the other week there, that was a fantastic beer. And I, you know, sort of compared it to the Bone Shaker, which I can get around here. They are very similar. Those are fantastic beers. If I brewed a beer like that, I'd be very impressed. It doesn't happen very often down here, but it does happen, and it has happened. And actually somebody has offered to send me a Torpedo beer kit. So it's, excuse me, Sierra Nevada Torpedo beer is what we're talking about. And they've offered to send me a kit. So when I get that kit, we're gonna brew it over there, and then we'll do a taste test. I don't know if I'll have an actual Torpedo beer to compare it with, but at least I'll be able to taste it and give you guys my opinion on that. Let you know what I think, okay? So those are the things that are coming up, and double fisted here. I'm really happy with my extract beers. So if this is the category of on YouTube for brewing that I'm falling into, and I think it is, because I think I've seen, you know, posts on forums and whatnot, fine. There's a lot of people who can't do all grain beer. They haven't got the time, they haven't got the space, they don't want to spend the money, you know, they got to get this big pot, and they got to get a mash tun and all this stuff. We don't want to scare people away from brewing beer. This has been my whole premise during this whole 11 years of me, actually coming up to 12 now, on YouTube doing this, is don't be afraid to brew beer, even if it's a pot on the stove with a spatula and a can and some sugar. I mean, just do it. You will succeed. You will brew beer, and you will get to the point that you want to get to, whatever level it is, or whatever method it is. You'll find what's best for you. So I hope if you're new to home brewing, that this video has inspired you to just try to brew beer. You'll succeed. You know, follow the simple rules. Good sanitation. Use good yeast. You know, let it age for a little while. Don't just drink it a week later after it's done. You know, make sure you've got a decent recipe and fresh ingredients, and you're gonna brew excellent beer. If you're a total die-hard beer connoisseur, well, you're probably not watching the right guy. I just love beer, and I love brewing it. I love the fact that I can save a lot of money with it. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that you can do it no matter which method you use. Don't let anyone look down their nose at you and say, no, you can't do it that way. It sucks. That's not true, in my opinion. And it's a strong opinion, and I stand by it. Okay? All right. Well, listen, I'm going to sit here and finish these beers now that I've got myself knee-deep into this. If you're someone who's been doing this for a long time, and you're still watching my videos, well, congratulations. You stuck around for all this time and put up with my simplistic brewing methods. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your support. If you want to buy a t-shirt, you go to tgtshirts.com. And please don't forget to go to my vinyl channel. Vinyl TV, I'll put a link down below. I'm going to be concentrating on this channel. I think that vinyl is coming back. It has come back. And even if you don't have a record player or you don't listen to records, I still think that you might enjoy my videos. If you enjoy these, I think you might enjoy those too. So please subscribe to that channel, and click that little bell beside the subscribe button to make sure that you get notified whenever I post a video. Okay? Thank you. Be safe. Stay tuned for the next episode of of Homebrew Weekly, or Craig's Kitchen even. I've got some paint. Hint, hint. Okay. Thank you guys. Cheers. 17.